Hey, what's up, everybody? We're here with Phylos Bioscience today. We're actually here in Portland while we're out cruising around on our trip. And we were fortunate enough to be able to come in and do a tour with Phylos Bioscience. They do some really awesome things as far as cannabis genetic research and sex testing goes. So we just kind of want to give you all a quick tour of their building and kind of explain what they do and show you how you can use it to better your grows.
My name is Jess Christoph. I'm the Director of Research with Phylos Bioscience, and we've been around for about 3.5 years. So the two products that we have are the sex test and then our Silas Genotype that puts DNA onto our galaxy, and we can talk about that a bit later. The sex test is really awesome because it enables you to identify your males or your females really early. Literally days after they germinate. You can take the cotyledon, smash it onto a card, and send that card to us, and it's all federally legal. And then we test the DNA on that card and tell you if it's a male or a female, and it's really nice because on your seedling trays you can just pick out the girls and leave the boys behind.
Yeah, no, I've done a lot of
starting
from seeds, and it was a huge pain, transplanting everything, waiting till pre-flowers show. Sometimes you're wrong.
Totally.
You have to, you're wasting time, energy, nutrients, growing media, you name it.
Absolutely.
Huge pain. So that was the thing I was most interested in. It's kind of what turned me on to you guys.
Well, and it's a speedy test. We generally do you'll get results within 24 to 48 hours, so that's really nice too. And it's been really well received. Everybody's been really liking it. We've expanded over the United States as well as some other countries because it's federally legal. Everybody's happy about that. So the way that we designed the company and I designed the lab is that we're all high throughput. We knew that even when we started, we may not be getting tons of tests, but someday we would be getting thousands, and we are definitely at that day. So I'm glad I started with the high throughput in mind. So the way we have the lab set up is we are small, but we are very efficient. We start everything in the clean room, and if you look over here, you can actually see that this is where all of our raw reagents are processed, and Amanu is actually in there, and he's combining our enzymes and primers together to then come into the main lab. And the lab is organized by 0 DNA to a lot of DNA. So if you follow me, in these two hoods is where we combine what Amanu is doing with the actual DNA that we've extracted from the cards. And from that point, we come even further around and we load them into our real-time PCR machines. And these machines can run thousands, and in fact they are running thousands of samples a day. And then so we just went from no DNA where Amanu was working to trillions of copies of DNA. And these machines basically are like cameras, and so we're looking for 2 genes. We're looking for a control gene that identifies that it's cannabis and that all of our enzymes and everything's working correctly, and then we're also looking for a male-associated gene. And so what these machines do is they literally are taking pictures, and if the cannabis control gene is there, it'll emit a light, and so they'll register as they're taking a picture. They'll see that light, and so they'll be like, okay, it is cannabis. And then if the male gene is there, they'll also register that light emitting for the male gene, and then they'll tell me, oh, this one's a male, this one's a female, this one's a male, this one's a female, and then we report the results back to you.
Nice. So essentially everybody just numbers all of their seedlings. The tests coincide with each of those numbers, and you just send back a report like this number's male, this is female, and down the line.
Exactly. And when we first started, we would just send people the card, but now we actually send people a card with stakes that match their numbering, so that it's a little bit easier when you collect the sample. You put a stake in there, and then you know there's no mistakes.
Very cool.
we definitely want to make sure that we work with both the grower to have a successful test, and internally we have a ton of controls built in and QC built in to make sure that there's a successful test here too.
Cool. And how long does the typical test take, like this machine, I guess, how long does that take to run?
The machine itself actually only takes about an hour and a half. So it's very fast.
And that does multiple samples at a time?
Yes, yes. We can do, generally we're doing around 384 samples at a time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we can fit quite a few in a day.
Nice.
So then the other product that I had mentioned was we have what's called the Phylos genotype. And so once you have all of these girls and you grow them up, right, if they're amazing plants and you want to grow them next season, or you just want to know a bit more about them, you can take a piece of stem and you can wash it with alcohol, and that removes all the THC, and you can send that to us. Again, this is federally legal. You send it to us once it's washed, and then we will extract DNA out of that stem, and that DNA is actually loaded onto Betty. All of our instruments are named, so this is Cheech and Chong, and this is Rihanna, and this is Snoop, and this is Betty Page. It's a scientist thing. We spend so much time with our instruments. We need to be on a first name basis with them. So the DNA from the stems, though, goes on to Betty, and what Betty does is she can sequence thousands of samples at a time. And if you imagine that Cheech and Chong, for the sex test, just look for 2 genes, Betty is actually looking for 2,500, so 2,500 genes per sample, and she'll look at hundreds of samples in a single run. So she's like these guys on steroids. She's incredible.
And then, is this the machine that cross-references between all of the samples that you have?
So actually, that's where we're going to talk to Alicia later on, and she's the population geneticist behind that. So she built a whole background data analysis pipeline that once Betty is complete, all Betty gives is zeros and ones, and she's able to break that into info that shows you your sample. Your OG Kush actually looks like a lot of the other OG Kushes, or actually your OG Kush is something totally different. You should rename it. You're amazing. You have a new breed or a new species or a new strain of your own.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so we briefly talked about the 2 different tests that are offered. So we're just gonna kind of open them up and go ahead and kind of run through how they work, what they look like, and go from there. So if you wanna take it away, show us how all this works.
Okay, so as I mentioned, myself and the team had designed these products so that they're federally legal, and we spent a lot of time reviewing the Controlled Substances Act and ensuring that. The way that the sex test card works is what we require that you use the cotyledon leaf, and that's the very first set of, there's 2 that come out when you germinate your seed.
Yeah, those 2 little round leaves.
Exactly, and that's the only part of cannabis that doesn't have the glandular trichome that makes THC. And so the Controlled Substances Act says that you can't ship THC and you can't ship plant material. So what we did was we designed it so that you stamp the cotyledon on the card, and then you remove any excess plant material, so now you're not shipping plant material. And then because you use the cotyledon, it didn't have any THC, so you didn't actually put THC on the card either. And then you send this to us, and it gets processed in the lab, and you get your results in about 48 hours. So that's the test, and the test comes in 3 different formats. As a card, you can buy it in a single pack, which looks like this, and it comes along with instructions on how to use the card, and then with stakes that match the actual card. So when you put your leaf on here, you can take the respective stake and just shove it in the pot, and again, you'll get results in your email about 48 hours later, and it'll say, okay, AIFD number 1 is a girl, AIFD number 2 is a boy.
Okay.
So that's how that guy works.
And if you get multiple packs, is AFID just what you use on all of them, and you have to differentiate the further marks?
No, that's a great question. So say you bought, and so we sell these cards. You can buy 1, you can buy 5, you can buy hundreds, you can buy thousands. We're open to that. And so we have what we call the 100 pack, and what this does is it's 25 cards, so a total of 100 tests. And as you can see, again, instructions, and you've got stakes. except each card is different. So we've got like AOFD, AOFE.
Got it.
So it changes, and you have the stakes that go with the cards.
Cool.
So yeah, so these are for anybody who is, if they're in Oregon and they really like stakes, or they really like the card method, that's great. And also this works out in any other state that is medical or recreational or recreationally legal, as well as internationally.
Great.
In Oregon only, we also sell what's called our 88 plate. This is a little bit easier, and this allows you to put the cotyledon right inside of the well and seal it, and then ship this to us. So this, it also comes with stakes, except the stakes are a little bit different in that they actually ID to the well location. So like this is it's a grid, exactly. And again, the kit comes with instructions, and it also comes with a seal. So once you fill it, you seal it, and you send that to us. The very last row, we keep sealed, and we use that for controls within the lab. We also ask that you don't, when you're using this particular product, that you don't include cotyledon leaves that have the seed coat still on them. So the seed coat, a lot of people don't realize, are actually the maternal, so the mother's tissue. And if it's a boy, the test will come out where we don't know what it is, because it's got boy signal and girl signal, and we're like, wait, what's going on? So that's why we say, we send this warning, don't send this. So those are the sex tests, and like I said, they come in a variety. This particular plate option only comes in Oregon, but the cards, and I personally prefer the cards. I think that they're, well, I designed them, but I designed all of them, so I like them all, but everybody prefers them for different reasons, and so it's really what you and your grow, what fits your grow style. So that's how the sex test works. And then the other kit that is available for sale is the Phylos genetic test. And this is also federally legal. And the way that this works is also in the Controlled Substances Act. There is a vestige of the hemp industry. So when I'm sure you're aware with hemp, they really like the main stalk, right? And so in the Controlled Substances Act, it says, well, you can ship stalk. And so then what we did is we said, okay, well, if you ship us a small piece of stock, that's okay, but you still need to wash it with alcohol, and what the alcohol does is it, again, removes the THC.
Right, that makes sense.
So
technically it's hemp.
So it's technically hemp at that point, and it's, again, federally legal. So we provide you instructions on how to do that, and basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your stem, you're gonna put it in this tube, and you're gonna get clean rubbing alcohol, pure rubbing alcohol, from just like the grocery store. And you'll use one pipette to take the alcohol and put it in your stem tube, seal it, shake it, and then use the other pipette. These are actually called Pasteur pipettes if you wanna get fancy. Use the other pipette to take out the alcohol and throw it away. And you do that 3 times. We've done a ton of testing, and it's actually 3 times is what it takes to get rid of all THC and make it legal for you. And then you take the stem out, you put it in this little envelope, you write down your variety name. If you are sending us like a bunch of different samples, and in fact you want us to, say you're sending us like 8 different samples and you have your own internal records, so maybe it's like skunk, and then it's like OG Kush and sour diesel, but at home you refer to it as plant number 1, plant number 2, plant number 3. You can write that in the reference ID, and we'll record it so that on your report you'll know which ones it is versus the generic skunk name, and then your email address. And then this code will relate back to you, because when you purchased it, we associated it with your account, and so when you get your results, you'll see that code, and that's all on the Galaxy.
Nice.
And so you put your stem in here. You don't need to throw the tube away. We don't need that anymore. Put your stem in here, and we provide a return envelope. Just put it in here and ship it to us, and that's it.
Awesome.
So these guys are about 48 hours that you see the results, and the genotype is 4 to 6 weeks, around there.
Right. Cool. Yeah, and you showed us those machines over there and how they all work.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, honestly, it's, you know, it's looking at DNA, and then people like Alicia and her team really take it the next step where it's like understanding the DNA, which is so exciting.
And so the plant sex test is kind of what originally, I saw. I was like, oh man, we need to talk to these people.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of our audience starts from seeds.
Yeah.
And basically, what is the cost on one of those tests?
It's $14.95 a test, and it ends up being $60 a card. And then the 100 kit ends up being $10 a test. So you save some money if you buy 100 at a time. And if you buy the 100, you don't have to use them all at once. You can save some of them for the next grow season if that works out for you.
Right.
And they'll always be associated with your account. So if we get 10 here and 10 another season, we'll know they're from you.
Awesome. Yeah. And if I had something like this back when I was starting, I remember a time when I cracked like 70 some seeds and had to wait to figure out which one was male, which ones were female.
Yeah.
Pull all those. It was just a huge, especially in places where you have restricted plant counts.
Right.
This is huge.
Yeah. So. Well, and we definitely, so one thing that our team actively works on is just providing some of the data behind why seeds are better. Clones serve a purpose for sure, but seed plants, as I'm sure you've talked about, come out so much healthier, so much more vibrance in them. And so we actually have a couple of blogs, one that just talks about the importance of seeds versus clones. And we have another blog that talks about if you do something to the mother plant, what happens to the baby, what happens to the seed genetically and phenotypically. So those are both really interesting in regards to just working with seeds.
Awesome. Cool. I think that's about it for us. So thank you so much for all your time and
Absolutely.
letting us come check out your lab and see all this. It's been really cool to see all those machines and just kind of get a behind the scenes look at it. So
awesome. Well, you're welcome back anytime.
All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Bye for now.